just kidding. All right, all right, guys. We're gonna talk about the top 5 mistakes that I see anglers making in fall. And it is not fall yet, but we do got a nice walleye in the line here. Kind of an awkward start to the video. What's that?
You want a net or no?
You know what, you should grab the net, yeah. All right, so I'm fishing with my buddy Matt. The reason why we're talking about fall walleye fishing is because football season is finally here. We got the first football games of the year coming up, and we got a couple football fans in the boat here. Of course, I'm a Vikings fan, but what do you like, Matt? You don't like the Packers, do you?
It's been a very good week.
Micah Parsons in the house. Anyway, we're gonna talk about the 5 biggest mistakes that I'm seeing anglers make in fall. And the first one is actually gonna be about presentation. Oh gosh, that's a nice walleye. I'm glad we started the video now.
Oh, dude.
Nice. We've been poking a few walleyes, but this is one of the better ones. Shoot, buddy. Thanks for the scoop. God, that's a tank, isn't it? Look at this thing, is so stinking heavy. My word. Okay, so give me a break. Let me show you this fish shop first, and then we can talk about the mistakes. Look at that guy. Holy tanker, dude. That is a stinking beauty. All right, we're gonna get him right back in the water, and then we're gonna talk about the first mistake. I'll just send him right back down. Well, that was easy. What do you guys think about that? That's a good way to start the video. All right, so the first mistake that I see anglers making, and Matt, you still got that swim bait tied on?
I do, yeah. Okay,
so we're not officially in fall yet. But the first mistake I want to talk about was one thing I don't see anglers doing is upsizing early enough. So check out this thing. I saw this in his tackle box. I'm like, yeah, heck yeah, throw that thing on. That's a 6-inch swim bait. I got a 4-inch swim bait, which I would consider to be a pretty large swim bait for walleyes, especially, God, these paddle shads are kind of bulky too. Just kind of the presentation. But anyway, upsizing in fall can be really, really effective. As we get, you want to take over?
Sure, yeah.
As we get later into the season, you know, in spring, a lot of the bait fish obviously is a lot smaller, you know, but as we get later and later into the season, the bait fish is getting bigger and bigger. So one thing I like to do is I like to use bigger presentations. I guess I'll keep it to that, short and sweet. But I'm using, you know, in spring and summer, I'm using a lot of like 3.5-inch swim baits, but I'm upsizing those swim baits as we get later and later into the year. So just something to think about, whether you're using swim baits, whether you're using stick baits, whether you're using minnows, get bigger and bigger bait as you get later into the fall, because just naturally what those fish are eating are getting bigger and bigger. So that's mistake number 1 that I see. A lot of anglers, they just roll, you know, they just love their, you know, 3-inch plastic, or, you know, they love their minnows that are a certain size or whatever, and they don't upsize as they get later into the season. So just something to think about. That's mistake number 1. All right, so that brings us to the second mistake that I'm seeing anglers make all the time in fall. We talked a little bit about upsizing your presentation. This next mistake is also about presentation. And one thing that I'm seeing folks doing is they hard switch to their fall patterns as soon as they start to see those temperatures drop. And I will tell you that is a big mistake. Hold on to the summer patterns for as long as you can. You're still gonna see fish set up in similar places as those water temperatures start to drop. As the water temperatures get a lot colder, things will start to change. We'll get to that later in the video, but a lot of times I'm still using a lot of the presentations that I've been using all summer and having success with. And as a rule of thumb, I get to get out and fish quite a bit, you know, so I get to watch the vibe of what's happening out in the water. And I will tell you, a lot of the things that I'm doing in the summer will hold, you know, 10, 20 degrees into the fall, you know, as the temperatures drop from the mid to high 70s down into the low 70s, down into the 60s, even into the 50s. There's a lot of different misconceptions that people have. Oh, you know, it has to be all minnows. Oh, get rid of the night crawlers. You know, if you got leeches, great, but, you know, transition to rigging, transition to jig and minnow. And I'm here to tell you that I've caught fish on a drop shot and a night crawler in, you know, 48-degree water temperature. So there's a lot of things that work in the summer. The things you've been honing the last few months, those things are still gonna work. So don't throw them away just yet, and buckle up because we got more tips coming. All right, mistake number 3 that I see anglers making in fall. It's gonna be way cooler if I can get this fish to bite while I'm talking about the mistake.
Oh.
Uh-oh, uh-oh.
Yep.
Oh, I'm already so high. There we go. Mistake number 3. Let's talk about it. Mistake number 3 that I'm seeing anglers making is they are going way too hard into the minnow game in fall. So obviously, like, we're still early in the fall period. The bite can still be a little tough because water temperatures are still high. I'll just scoop him, actually. He's a pretty nice fish. He's like a 25-incher. Water temperatures are still kind of high and live bait is still kind of a big deal. But as we get deeper and deeper into fall, bust out these guys right here. Plastics. I love plastics in fall. Obviously crankbaits and stuff like that also plays. But I think one of the bigger mistakes that I see anglers making is they commit way too hard to the minnows in fall. And we'll talk about this a little bit later in the video as well, you know, about guys going out deep and rigging in deep water. Obviously, it's a tactic that works, and it can work when the bite is really tough as well. I would never tell someone, don't go to the bait shop, don't pick up any minnows. I think absolutely anytime you go out walleye fishing, you know, not everybody gets to fish every day. Like, you should always put the odds in your favor, always have live bait ready. But there's gonna be some days where you start casting at marks, you start fan casting on a flat, you go casting in the weeds, and you're just gonna start popping fish on swim baits, on, you know, minnow style plastics, crankbaits, even like rattle baits and stuff like that. And you're gonna be like, why the heck did I buy minnows today? And obviously, you know, some days you're gonna lean back on those minnows, but some people, they just go straight to the minnows. They take a jig and a minnow, they take a rig and a minnow, and they just full commit to it. And honestly, if you're not using artificials in fall, I think you're missing out, because the fish absolutely thunk it. They just drill it. You know, a lot of times with live bait, they kind of like to just sort of suck on it. And ultimately, you get a lot harder bites, and some days you'll catch a lot more fish when you're using artificials, just because the fish are just gonna be a lot more aggressive. Ultimately, one thing that I've noticed is the fish, it doesn't matter what season it is, the fish are gonna match the activity that you give them. So if you're giving them something that's really slow and finesse and methodical, they're gonna come up and just gently grab it. But if you're pulling a swim bait or you're popping a minnow style plastic in front of them, they're gonna just drill it. They gotta make a decision really, really quickly, because if they don't, obviously that bait's gonna be gone. That's kind of what they're used to, right? They got all these different bait fish and they're swimming around, you know. Ultimately, it's only like super injured minnows that, you know, they'll come up and grab it or whatever, and that's when finesse can work. But anyway, I digress. I'm all over the place now, but the fish will match your behavior. So sometimes when you get aggressive, they'll get aggressive. So that is another one of the biggest mistakes. Mistake number 3 that I see anglers making, and that is they don't even try plastics in fall. All right, mistake number 4 that I see in the fall, and this one is honestly a little bit of a pet peeve of mine, is it seems like when you get to fall, some anglers, they just go full all in on the ultra deep bite. And I'm talking about, you know, right on the break line. People love, you know, pulling baits on the break line, 25 feet, 30, 35, 40. I've even seen on places like Gull, which is close to where I live in central Minnesota, I've seen guys rigging out in 50 feet. And it's like, yes, are there fish out there? Of course there's fish out there. But that's not even necessarily where the best bite always is. Like, yes, sure, you can catch big fish, but like a lot of, like, there'll be tournaments late in fall and there'll be guys rigging out in 40, 50 feet of water. And ultimately you're killing like every single walleye you catch out there. And the thing is this time of year in fall, one of the very, very best shallow water bites of the whole year is up in fall. So one thing that I'd recommend when everybody is sneaking out into that deep water, you know, they're pulling rigs, you know, in deep water, maybe they're trolling. There's a lot of different things you can do out there. I would say sneak up into the shallows. And when I'm talking about shallows, I'm not even just talking about, you know, 15 feet of water, 10 feet of water, 8 feet of water. I'm talking about get way up there, because those walleyes, especially as you get later and later and later into the year, they will get extremely shallow. A lot of times what you can do if you have side imaging, you can use that up on the shallow flats and you'll see walleyes. There's going to be suckers and stuff up there as well, but you'll see walleyes kind of like pepper all around up on the around on the sand. But also get up in the weeds. Any weeds that are still existing in fall, especially late in fall, they're just going to be magnets for walleyes. So get up shallow. Use your artificials, you know, like we talked about earlier. It doesn't always have to be live bait. Use your artificials, rip plastics through the weeds. You can throw jig and minnow up on the sand flat for some of those walleyes. There's a lot of things you can do this time of year, but get up shallow. Don't full commit to the deep break just like everyone else is. You're gonna be out there playing bumper boats, or you can run up shallow and maybe catch 3 times as many fish. So something to think about. That's the 4th mistake. All right, the last mistake. And actually, this is actually probably the biggest mistake. So mistake number 5 that I see people do in fall is they put their boat away. What the heck are you doing? This is honestly like the best bite of the year. Spring is super fun, right? Where I live in Minnesota, we actually don't get to take advantage of all of spring because ultimately the season doesn't open until well after the spawn. So we don't get to take advantage of that entire spring bite, but you swap to the other side of the season, the other cold water season, and the bite just gets so insanely good. You get to catch fish up shallow again. You're catching them on artificials like we talked about, or live bait, whatever you want to do, but this is just such a good bite. Take advantage of it because ultimately we're going to have ice on the lakes before too long, and that's the other part of the equation as well. Why are you putting your boat away? You could be out there fishing, scanning, just hunting for those first ice fish, because ultimately if you find them somewhere in November, or like let's say 2, 3, 4 weeks before ice up, a lot of times those pods of fish are still going to be there. So go find your early ice spots, or just mess up a bunch of fish if you don't care about ice fishing. So I love this time of year, and we're just getting into fall right now. Water temps are just starting to drop around home. We'll see if these cold temperatures hold. You never know. We always have these Indian summers, but anyway, those are the 5 mistakes that I'm seeing walleye anglers make all the time in fall. So thank you for watching all the way to the end. We got more videos to come, but I'm gonna get back to fishing because fall is just around the corner. The bite's great. The fish are biting paddle tails, so how can I not fish? Anyway, we're gonna wrap this video up here. Thanks for watching. All right, guys, I hope you got some good value out of this video, but the next thing I'm going to tell you about is something I'm really, really excited about, and that is we filmed another season of the Walleye Cup. If you haven't seen it yet, you have to go and watch it. I'll play an intro in just a second, but it's me versus Brett McComas versus TJ Erickson. You probably know who those guys are, but we edited everything together. There's a few different videos in the series, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. It's going to be a lot of action, and I think you're going to learn something. So without further ado, I'm going to roll the intro, and then you guys can click on the screen if you guys want to watch the first episode.
Come on, baby.
Yep, it bit. There we go.
There we go. That's a big fish.
Don't dump them this time, TJ. They're fighting big. Oh, it's so fun seeing them in that clear water like that. There we go. Yes.